All right, baseball fans, it's about that time of the year. We are striking the trade deadline here on Bases Loaded. I'm your host, Noah, with my boys Mason and Luke. How we doing today, guys?
I'll let Mason go first.
Life is pain. That's it.
Yeah.
Luke, how you doing, Luke?
Ah, I could be worse. I'll say that. It
Fair
could be
enough.
worse. So, a little underwhelmed as a Mariners fan.
We got other trades, acquisitions that we got a lot of our eyes on that we're going to talk about as well. And going to choose our winners and losers, some of the teams that really stood out in those aspects for the trade deadline here in the 2026 season. So, with that being said, guys, we're going to get our little bloop single into the first topic, running at first base. We got it. Let's just say how it is. Everyone's waiting to talk about the Tarik Skubal acquisition for the Dodgers from the Detroit Tigers. Obviously, probably the biggest acquisition in this trade deadline here in this season. Is there anything you guys look to take away from this trade for the Dodgers here? Or what do you guys see for the potential or the future of the Tigers after their acquisition and trade for this? Luke, I'll start with you on this one.
Well, I just want to say that I think if we already had any uncertainty about a possible lockout, I think it's pretty much a shoo-in now because I'm sure the Dodgers are going to extend into. And I think we all stand in kind of a similar spot here. From the Tigers' standpoint, it's tough because, for a rental, obviously being as good as he is, you didn't get much in return. Like, definitely, there was controllable arms who are not on his talent level who just netted more just because of the years of team control that they have, the 1.5+ years they have left. But, that's a tough trade to make. I saw the clip of Jason Benetti and talking about it, like, while they were announcing the game. And, they just seem so dejected because – like at the time, 2.5 out of a spot. The AL is just so wide open. You almost just kind of just want to ride that wave out and just see where it takes you because you're just banking on a small return and hoping that something hits at that point. And for the sake of like your fans and just your team morale, having him there the rest of the year. They're a team that usually gets pretty hot later on in the year, the last few years. So, who's to say they wouldn't have snuck into a spot? Obviously, that's still on the table, but not having, arguably the best pitcher in the league definitely, hurts their chances.
Definitely a lot they're baking on with those prospects they got in return for Skubal to, take them into the future. Will this help their rotation? Will it keep it at a standstill? What would that do? So,
Yeah.
that's something that I'm sure Tiger fans are keeping their eye on for sure going forwards. Mason, what are your thoughts on this acquisition for the Dodgers? Do you see the Tigers' future looking a bit brighter, or still kind of a question mark?
I think it's a question mark for the Tigers. I'm really disappointed in their trade deadline because, you trade Tarik Skubal and that basically signifies, all right, we're selling. We're, borderline blowing it up. And then the only other move that they make is Casey Mize at the buzzer to the Padres. There's so many other pieces that they should have gotten rid of. Gleyber Torres, Kenley Jansen, at the very least, should have been moved if you're going to sell. Because if you're not going to sell and you're going to try to capitalize on a weak American League, you need to keep Tarik Skubal and you need to keep Casey Mize. But they didn't. So especially with those other expiring contracts and stuff like that, it's a weird spot for the Tigers because it feels like they're like almost trying to make a push, but also trying to get paid for what they have. The Casey Mize return was pretty decent, but the Skubal return was a little bit underwhelming in my opinion. Zahir Hope is a top 100 prospect, and so was River Ryan. But like Luke said, he's 28 and coming off Tommy John. He's basically he's pushing bust territory, and Brady Smith is kind of just a throw in. I don't really like how this went down for Skubal and the Tigers. I think they traded him way too early. I think that you could have at least like leveraged him a little bit, but trading him on Friday kind of just made it like, they were just taking whatever they were going to get. In terms of the Dodgers, like we talked about before we recorded, the Avengers just got better. Skubal's a 2-time Cy Young winner. And then you have Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, Justin Robleski. Basically, you can do whatever you want in the rotation and then put everyone else in the bullpen like you did last year, and then you're going to be fine. The Dodgers are going to win the World Series, and we're not going to play baseball next year. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Snell, he's already had one rehab start, I believe, in single A. They're going to have him throw in triple A, and then he should be back soon. Glasnow should have a rehab assignment soon. Ohtani, we don't know how long he's going to be without pitching, but I mean, they're just in such a good spot where you can really just live without having him in the rotation and be completely fine because of just how loaded you have yourself. Like, that just means you keep another lefty and Robleski in there. So you just have 2 lefties with him and Snell.
Yeah.
Well, Skubal too, so 3.
True. Yeah, it's basically like an abundance they have at that point. It's like, damn, man. Yeah, and it's also, it kind of makes you think, it's like, were the Tigers ever going to be able to pay Skubal then at that point? It's like, if they were just going to trade him like that, it's like, obviously not.
That package that they asked like the Yankees for, because like the Yankees like inquired about Skubal, and it was like they wanted Cam Schlittler and Ben Rice and then like Spencer Jones or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, Schlittler is the front runner for AL Cy Young. Ben Rice has 35 homers, and Spencer Jones is still a top prospect. And then you walk away with a River Ryan and Zahir Hope. That's quite a difference.
Yeah, it's
I will say it's probably not as well. It's definitely not as bad as what the Angels fumbled with not trading Ohtani to Tampa Bay. Could have had Junior.
Yeah,
damn, that's right.
Down Cabanero for just to let Ohtani walk for free.
Damn, that would have been nice.
Would you rather bet on the Dodgers or bet on the field? So like every other team.
Like to win it all.
I'm taking the
win the World
Dodgers.
Series.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the signal to steal second for our next topic. So, as some of you else may have known, other than Mason here with the Oriole memorabilia, Adley Rutschman got traded to the Boston Red Sox division rivals. Very surprising trade there as well that I came across here as far as that goes. With that being said, Mason, I know you've been waiting for this moment here, and I'll let you take the floor with this.
Please, by all means.
Actually going to give it to Luke because I want him to make some points before I sulk for 20 minutes about
All right, Luke, you have the floor then.
I think the part that hurts worst from, and like, you know, not even a fan of the Orioles myself, but just being in the area, you know, just seeing your 1-1 go to a division rival, still has team control. I mean, I don't think the return is bad by any means. It's definitely, you know, it hurts the heart, I'm sure, a lot, like I'm sure Mason will dive into, so I'm not gonna dig too far into emotions, but I mean, Narvaez has been pretty useless. So outside of that, I mean, you got some solid prospect capital. You got the number 2 prospect out of their organization who's 49th, you know, in the whole league. He's got a 1.3 ERA in the minors with a sub-1 WHIP. So I mean, he's a guy only 21 years old, you know, bright future there. As far as the other prospects go too, it's just all about loading up at this point, as we saw with some of their other moves, just loading up on mainly pitching too, and just hoping some of these guys pan out, because obviously it's been a pretty weak point for them over the last couple seasons. I mean, even when they had some overall team success, it was definitely something that for the most part could have been better. And I mean, we saw how it's been this year. So I think the future outlook of things, especially with having Basayo locked down, you know, it makes a little bit of sense for sure. It makes it a little bit more reasonable as like a baseball fan standpoint, not just like an Orioles fan standpoint, to make the move. Because I mean, it was inevitably gonna be like you trade him or he ends up walking at some point. So I don't hate the return at all, but you know, I'm gonna throw it over to Mason there and just kind of let him get the emotion out from, you know, a fan standpoint.
Yeah, sad day in Baltimore for sure. I think the worst part about it is that the rumor got broken at like 12, and then it wasn't official until about 2:30. So we sat here for multiple hours, asking, "Is this it?" It was kind of just dangling it in front of us, like, is it actually real? Is it not? But yeah, I mean, Adley Rutschman was getting called up in 2022 was supposed to be the beginning of the end. All those years of 100 plus losses. You trade Machado in 18, and you blow it up entirely, and then you call up Adley Rutschman, and then you're a playoff contender in 2022, and then you call up Gunnar at the end of the year, and then in 2023 you win 102 games, and then get swept in the divisional series. It sucks. I mean, Adley Rutschman has been basically the face of this franchise for the last 4 or 5 years now. It hurts as an Orioles fan. I'm trying to use my objective baseball goggles here, looking at this trade, and it does make sense. I think that the reality was that the two sides were nowhere close on an extension, and the front office is also anticipating that baseball is not played next year. So Adley Rutschman is basically a glorified rental, if that is the case. And, like Luke alluded to, it is a pretty good return. Anthony Ianson, the number 45 overall prospect, Red Sox number 2, good stats in AA, but at the same time, it's a AA guy, still going to be time till he gets called up. Kyson Witherspoon, number 4 from Boston, number 5 in Andy Azekar. Carlos Narvaez is just whatever.
I will say Azekar has some solid stats in high A for a 19-year-old. I will say that.
Obviously, the team is kind of in need of outfield, but maybe not in 3 years. Rutschman had a really bad year last year, and we banked on the bounce back season. Then we started to get it, and then he got hurt a couple times. I mean, the concussion wasn't even his fault. It's kind of just the way that baseball works sometimes. And then you trade him to the Red Sox. Like, it's one thing if you trade him to a team other than the Red Sox or the Yankees. Like, if he's a Brewer, cool. I mean, almost even if he's a Dodger, it is what it is. But you trade him to the Red Sox, like, it just feels like a total gut punch to the fan base. And, we've been promised so much for the last so many years that, the future is bright and the prospects are going to be good and Kobe Mayo isn't going to suck. And, going into the trade deadline like 2 days ago, Mike Elias is like, we're not going to lean too heavily into selling or buying. And then we just sold, your franchise cornerstone. And I mean, I was a big Taylor Ward fan. Probably still will be watching him on the Mariners. It feels like that return was god awful, but that's for another time. And I mean, even Tyler Wells, like the homegrown talent that you're dishing out. I don't know. It's a total disservice to Orioles fans. I think it's bad for business, but I mean, clearly the front office has shown that they don't care about that. Gonna feel weird rooting for him in a Red Sox uniform. It's gonna feel even weirder when the Red Sox come to Baltimore for a 4-game set in the beginning of September. And hearing the in-game announcer announce Adley Rutschman for the Boston Red Sox.
Him on the Red Sox is tragic. I was pointing that out earlier today. I was like, damn, out of all teams, man, you got to give him to a division rival. Like that's like if a Pirates traded to a player to like the Cubs. Like I would hate that. So yeah, I feel that right there, Mason. But it's also disappointing, like as you named like the other superstars they had in the past, where it's like, okay, now going forward, you would think they'd learn to try to learn better to compensate for their next superstars. Yeah, I don't know. It's because like it's rare to come across like good catchers like that too these days too. That's a rare position to find someone good in. I feel like so like. Yeah, that's a tough one, I bet. Sliding into third on a sacrifice bunt. we got other trades that caught our attention today, and I think we got a handful of player acquisitions we want to kind of share our thoughts about that kind of grabbed our attention. So Luke, I'll hand this to you once again. I'll give you a handful. I'll let you name a handful of trade acquisitions that happened in this deadline that stood out to you the most. What stood out to you the most here?
I mean, from a team standpoint, I'll just say I do like how the Cubs added to their pitching rotation and also a little bit of relieving help too with Zephyr John. I like how they got Holmes, Gosman, Braxton Garrett. I know they thought they were getting somebody else, but not going to rub it in Cubs fans' faces. Pretty big rumor going on for a while there. But yeah, I like what they did a lot. Just, help shore up the pitching aspect of things. I do like the Rays adding Freddie Peralta. I'm sure he's going to, in the Rays pitching lab, he's going to regain form. And I like how they grabbed Liam Hicks, too, to be a catcher DH, maybe a little bit of first here and there as well. I mean, he's a guy who's hit pretty well this year, 282, 14 home runs, playing catcher primarily. I mean, like we were talking about, catchers definitely a lacking position, especially offensively this year. But it's not like we have anything close to what we gotten out of Cal last year. I mean, the closest comp is probably Hunter Goodman, I guess. But, I mean, him and Langoliers are having great years. Outside of that, it's like, it's a kind of a mixed bag, more negative than positive offensively, catcher-wise. But between Hicks and Fortes, they threw Fiducia back to the Dodgers for like the, second, third time. So, I like what they did. Just, they're never going to make the most sexy moves per se, but you get people in the Rays system and they're going to, especially pitchers, they're going to turn back into form or they're going to break out.
Yeah, I think the Cubs made some good moves today. I was looking at who they acquired. I think that probably would have been like one of my favorites for winners here. But yeah, I do like the Gosman addition and Clay Holmes, Braxton, all that good stuff. But yeah, definitely some good ones you pointed out there. Mason, were there any other moves that stood out to you?
The Casey Mize to the Padres move was a good one. Padres needed help in the rotation. They've been absolutely obliterated with injuries, with, Michael King and Nick Pivetta. They also got Robbie Ray, who is probably, a little bit a shell of his former self at this point, but, still a very serviceable and above average starter that I think is going to help bolster the Padres rotation. Those two, in combination with the rest of them, if they can get healthy, is going to be very good for them. Luis Arraez to the Phillies is one that it looks good on paper, but I think in practice is going to be a little bit clunky for a few games, and then they're going to figure it out. It's very strange how it's all going to work out in terms of playing him, because he has said that he wants to play second base. And Don Mattingly said he will play second base. So they're moving Bryson Stott off second to third. They're moving Alec Boehm to first. And then Bryce Harper is going back into the outfield.
Which he hasn't played since, I believe, like mid-April of 2022. So it's been quite a while.
I think in terms of offensively, it's going to be great for him. I also think that the Dalton Varsho for Arrighetti straight up while the two teams are playing each other is kind of hilarious. As Luke alluded to, Liam Hicks of the Rays is very good. I don't know what the Marlins were doing. They were like selling and buying, but
1.5 out of a spot. And that's.
They were shopping Kyle Stowers, even though they were asking a massive price. I don't know.
Didn't they just get him? Shit. I shouldn't have asked that.
I mean, it is what it is, because he was never going to play in Baltimore, and we got Trevor Rogers back. But
I like what the Brewers are doing with acquiring as many pitchers as they can at the moment with Dustin May and Jojo Romero, and then Antonio Senzatella, the reliever, right? From the Rockies. Yeah, he was pretty good too. I like what they're doing there. I think that's definitely a spot they need to capitalize on, give Miz some depth there and space to work with in that department. It's weird. I like the Heliot Ramos. I love Heliot Ramos, but like I feel like the Yankees don't really need outfield that much. So it's kind of interesting to see that.
I know
Joe,
Yankees fans were complaining a lot between that and the Luis Garcia trade as well.
yeah, yeah, but
Oh, he
uh,
only freaking leads the National League in slugging, but yeah, they're mad because it's at a position that they don't need.
yeah,
Typical Yankees.
typical Yankees, yeah. But yeah, I like that. I if I had Heliot Ramos on my team, shit, I wouldn't complain. Balls in the outfield, tagged up, sacrifice fly, sliding home to our last topic of the night. We're going to name our winners and losers for the trade deadline here on Bases Loaded. I know there's some clear winners and clear losers. There's also some, ones that are up for debate to some people. Maybe you guys have some that you want to bring up that might be arguably some winners and losers as well. Luke, what were some winners and losers for you if you had to choose like 2 to 3 on each?
Yeah, not going to get too much into depth considering we've talked about a couple of these teams already, but obviously I like Chicago, sure enough, to pitch in there. I'm going to pick them in Tampa as my winners. And as far as the losers go, I'm picking Detroit just because I'm kind of pissed at the approach that they took. Just as a baseball fan, we already kind of opened that up, so I'm not gonna, dig too much into it there. And if I had to pick another one or two losers, I'm gonna pick the Marlins for one, giving up Hicks and just, being 1.5 out of a wild card spot. And if I had to pick, I'll pick one more loser because it might not be crazy popular because the fact that they actually bought is just, usually they're the ones selling at the deadline is the Chicago White Sox just because Castillo, you're paying the rest of they're eating all of that money. And obviously I have a soft spot in my heart for Castillo, but it was time to move on. Yeah, you're paying the rest of that contract this year. You're paying the 24 next year. And on top of that, I believe he has a vesting option if he throws 180 innings next year that he gets a player option for the following year for 20 something mil again. So
well, I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but my biggest winner is the Chicago Cubs. The Kevin Gausman trade is one thing. I love the Zephyr move. He is a dog. He throws gas with multiple, I think it's like 5 or 6 years of control in his contract. Their bullpen is absolutely depleted with injuries and stuff. And then, of course, the Braxton Garrett move. Tyrone Taylor is a very good fourth outfielder. I think my favorite move is Clay Holmes, which is kind of like surprising because, he's kind of been a little bit lackluster and he's also hurt right now. But Clay Holmes is a ground ball factory. And basically the entire Cubs infield is platinum glovers. So they're going to be able to take what he produces and turn them into outs. I would not be surprised if, you see a very good Clay Holmes performance for the Cubs in the postseason. In terms of losers, I think the Yankees did probably the worst that they could have done. They needed shortstops and catchers, and they got a second baseman and an outfielder. And that was the only moves that they did. Heliot Ramos, of course, mashes lefties, but you're going to have to find a way to get him into the lineup because, Bellinger's going to come back, Judge is going to come back, and Giancarlo Stanton's already starting to swing the bat again. So it's going to be hard to get him into the lineup. The Luis Garcia move is good, but it's another situation with what do you do in terms of getting him on the field. You talked about the Brewers. I think that they are a very big loser at this deadline. The Brewers were supposed to go all in and get Tarik Skubal and help the rotation, and they got Dustin May.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
You got to imagine Miz is going to, experience some fatigue. And, I think I talked about it earlier. I think it was on like Stacey's show with the Brewers is that like, if you give Miz the ball game 1 and you lose, you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Kyle Harrison has been great. And, Logan Henderson is starting to come to form, but those are two very young guys coming off of injury. Then, you often see with those guys that the lights get too bright in October. I think if you
forbid they got to play like the Dodgers or something, and then,
yeah, round 1, you're going to play the Braves, and then you're going to play the Dodgers in round 2 if you advance.
Yikes.
Also, if I may, I have one more loser.
Sure.
Go ahead.
The Atlanta Braves.
I had them up there too. I don't know how you're 6 games up in your division and sell.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Mahle got over a 5 ERA. Bailey Falter, freaking 14 ERA pretty much. I mean, Lane Thomas has got a 719 OPS. Brent Suter, very definitely on the back end of his career with a +4 ERA. He's got like a 4.12 right now. I just not moved at all. Like, you made moves, but they don't really do anything for me. Like, if I was a Braves fan, I would not be happy with that at all. I mean, you got nothing that you could throw out there come October and be like, okay, I feel good about this.
First of all, since you guys talked about your teams, I don't think I've talked about my team in the trade deadline yet, but I wish we did more. I know Luke asked me earlier before we started that how I felt, so it's kind of how I feel right now. A bit underwhelmed. I mean, getting Camilo Doval's solid. We need someone in the bullpen. I wanted like all our moves to be bullpen, low key, but
basically was.
Basically, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we needed the pieces either way because it was just absolutely atrocious, just choking leads every day. But hopefully that changes something.
Well, that's why I was hoping we would take on, some form of bullpen help because we literally blew a lead to the Twins all 3 games. We won 2, luckily.
Oh, okay.
We blew 3 leads in 3 straight days to them, including the last game of the series. We were up 6-0.
Jesus.
I was watching that game and almost texted you. I was like, you better not lose this game.
That might have signified us going the complete opposite direction. We were like conservative buyers, I'd say. Like, we got rid of Castillo, got rid of that contract. Dominguez, I know we got cash considerations back in the Castillo deal, which is crazy, but I think that's mainly because Dominguez is owed like, 10 to 12 mil next year, something like that, which is a gross overpay. So I think we're getting some of that money relieved on our end. But I mean, Taylor Ward, cool, but definitely I wish we would have gotten bullpen. I know we reached out about Mason Miller, but they wanted Cade Anderson, and that's just not happening.
All right, guys. Well, that was a fun discussion with the MLB trade deadline here on Bases Loaded. You can tune in with our new episodes. Follow us on Instagram at Stacey Owns Sports, and all in one word. We're going to have more content and clips as far as our next broadcasts go. And with the baseball season coming into a closer and closer, we're going to, stay tuned for more as the season goes by. If you guys have any questions or have any concerns or any arguments going against the topics that we shared, please comment and share with us below. We'd love to see what you guys think. Tune in next time on our next episode of Bases Loaded, where we'll be talking about the new up-to-date topics at the time. Thank you, Mason and Luke, for joining here once again, sharing your knowledge. That is all. Thank you guys for watching.